year is 2024, and Sony is about to release the Kraken, a project they'd had in the works for almost a decade, and with a reported budget of up to $400 million. By far their most expensive game yet. Nothing.
Jesus Christ.
The year is 2016. Overwatch has just come out, and it's making the rounds everywhere. It's very popular.
Man, I remember...
the first AAA shooter since TF2 almost a decade ago, and it's good. Amazing gameplay and map design, well-designed characters with a ton of personality, and a decent cosmetic system. Around the same time, an exodus at Bungie.
Man, I remember buying Overwatch 1, the first game, when it came out. I remember we were at the tech store, and me and my mom, and she was there to buy something, like tech related product. I don't exactly remember. I think it was like a USB flash drive or something like that. I don't exactly remember. But we were there, and what happened was I saw Overwatch, right? Because I know that it's coming out, and I saw it on the shelf. It was so expensive. It was the Origins edition. It's this big box. I still have it. I probably can go and pick it out and comment and show it to you guys. But it's too much hassle. I'll do that later. But it's this big box. It's like really thick. There's all of this artwork in it. And oh my god. When it first came out, that game was my everything. I was playing that game religiously every single day. I was not studying. At my high school, I was like, screw study, this is more important. And then they killed the game. Game died. They literally killed the game, which is the most insane thing that you can do. Literal cash cow, one of the biggest IP of all time. They just killed the game, and it's just nothing now, essentially. So crazy. I would never think that it would come to this all the way back then. And when it first came out, all those YouTubers that are like posting videos, Too-Mad, rest in peace. Too-Mad used to be an Overwatch YouTuber. We didn't even know who he was because it was just edits. He would just upload like edits of like Overwatch. It was funny. I would watch those all day long. And then we knew nothing about him. Man, crazy. World changed so much in these couple of years, it's unrecognizable.
And ex-Bungie developers coalesced to form what would become Firewalk Studios. Initial meetings are held on their first project. You guys seen that Overwatch thing? Yeah? Let's do that. And they get to work. Fast forward to 2021. Now at this point in time, Sony's gaming department is headed by a man named Jim Ryan. He and the boys at Sony look around. The gaming landscape had changed. Gone were the days where you just made a game and sold it. Fortnite was now here, and if you weren't selling stolen dance moves and people sold it, Fortnite was...
Jesus Christ. Charlie, Skibidi Toilet, Fortnite, Subway Surfers, and then Baby Shark. How to brain rot your child. The easiest and the fastest way. These kids need these, man. These kids need this. This like addiction to them. It's like a drug to them. They need this. They really need this.
Here. And if you weren't selling stolen dance moves and Peter Griffin skins through recurrent battle passes, you were losing. They look at their own games. Uncharted, The Last of Us, God of War, Spider-Man. Some great stuff. One problem. Not one of them was live service, and therefore wasn't printing buckets of cash for Jim and the boys.
Oh.
So Ryan makes a decision.
This is the biggest mistake anyone can ever do in the gaming landscape, and if you're like a high-ranking person in like the gaming sphere of influence, so essentially in the gaming industry, is that, oh, look at this, we have all of these super successful, super quality, cash cow, single player, story focused video games, and everybody loves us. What can we do to make people hate us and lose their trust in us? Let's try to create live service games and then totally fail. Because, making money from all of these great single player games is just not enough. How can it be? We are Sony. We have to make more money.
PlayStation is gonna kick the doors down, burst into this market head first. But first, time to go shopping. And Herman Hulst, head of PlayStation Studios, starts looking for a few developers they could swipe up to help make that happen. It's around this time that Sony gets word of Firewalk, and they like what they hear. A studio made up of industry vets with a ton of talent. Ex-Battlefield devs, ex-Destiny devs, and ex-Halo devs. The studios...
And that's one of the reasons why people lose even more confidence in video game studios. This is one of those reasons, is because like once you realize that flops can happen even at the highest level with all of this talent, you realize you can't really trust anyone at that point, right? This shows everyone that just because you're a talented developer and you have a great team as a studio doesn't mean that your game is going to be 100% success. It increases the chances, but then here is the example of them just completely failing.
Creative lead was even the creative director on Destiny 2.
See, that's the biggest problem. You go and hire someone from Bungie. Do you even realize as a Destiny player, I have like plus 1,000 hours in this game as currently was speaking, right? Do you know how bad of a state that game is in? This is the biggest mistake. Is that grabbing people from a failing company. Why wouldn't you just think to yourself and ask yourself this question, would that company be failing if everybody was doing their job right? And I'm not necessarily blaming the developers, right? Higher-ups also have a lot of hand in this. But I think it will be not correct to say, or it would be an incorrect statement to just say it's probably not the combination of both of those things, right? Developers and higher-ups. It's probably a combination of both, if you really think about it.
Statement: to craft incredible multiplayer experiences that bring people together and inspire unforgettable and unexpected shared moments.
The most corporate speech somebody ever uttered in the history of corporations of the world. It's just mumbo jumbo gobbledygook that means nothing.
Wow. They'd even started work on their first game, a hero shooter set in an original sci-fi universe called Concord. Sounds promising. So Sony is interested.
I don't even know what Concord means. It's probably some fringe word that means something. I have no idea. I can't be bothered to look it up. Who cares?
And what they see amazes them. What Firewalk is making is so innovative, so impressive. They want in immediately. They'd seen the success of Overwatch and Valorant. This hero shooter genre is an absolute cash cow, and now it was Sony's turn. April 2021, and a deal is struck. Some cash on the table from Sony, and Firewalk's hero shooter would come out as a first-party exclusive for the PlayStation 5 and PC. Nice. Sony now had a taste of that sweet Bungie talent, and they wanted more. So in January 2022, they buy Bungie itself
for $4 billion.
A studio currently maintaining just one popular IP for $3.6 billion.
For $4 billion. How do I know? How do I know this? Is because I'm a Destiny player. I'm an avid Destiny player. So how I wouldn't know? How can I not know? And guess what? They still failed. They still failed. Bungie still failed. They got acquired for $4 billion and they're still laying off staff. It's insanity.
What a steal. Sony was now set to release a ton of live service games. More than 10 before March 2026, they say.
You serious?
In early 2023, Sony checks up on Concord, and this thing is in rough shape.
Meow.
At this point, it's apparently still in alpha, and it's not looking great.
This is what happens when you give a studio full reign on something and then you never check up on them and you just give them unlimited resources under the pretense that, oh, these people are industry veterans, so we don't really have to worry about it, and then this happens.
Basic things like player onboarding and monetization haven't even been figured out yet. Worst bit? This is about 5 years into active
Jesus
development.
Christ, man.
Firewalk consists of around 150 staff.
Jesus
This is in
Christ.
Bellevue, Washington, which means exorbitant rent
Give me money.
and sizable wages.
Give me money.
5 years of this adds up, and by 2023, an apparent $200 million.
Jesus, man. It is so much money. You give me that money, I'll invest that money in such... you give me that much money, brother, with that money, I'll figure a way to conquer the world. It's so much money. Most people don't even realize how much
Also,
money that is.
The game is supposed to be launching within the next 18 months, but it's in such a rough state, they'd probably need to use a ton of outsourcing for that to happen. This can be very expensive on short notice. It's okay.
Insult your players on Twitter.
Sony is calling this game the future of PlayStation. Executives are
Sure.
even calling it their Star Wars.
They cannot be this delusional. They can. I mean, I think what happened here is that sunk cost fallacy, where they just, I guess, like Sony executive just look at this and they're like, we already like dumped so much money into this. Let's just take our shot anyway, instead of just canning the product and cutting our losses. And then it just makes them delusional, and they're like, this cannot fail, not realizing that it will fail. Which is kind of sad.
PlayStation Studios is so confident, he decides to go all in. And Sony buys
Of course they do.
Firewalk for an estimated $100 million. Another steal. Now inside Firewalk Studios, and things are interesting. See, there's apparently a lead designer here who's decided she identifies as a professor.
Of course she does.
Demanding everyone at the studio call her that. Don't play ball, and you're potentially out of a job. This is despite not actually having a degree to back that up. She's reportedly not very popular.
I wonder why.
There's also apparently
It's so weird, like, it could have been anything, but she's like, just call me professor. Why? It's so random. Not boss, not bosswoman, not patron, you know, that's Spanish for you. Or like Mexican, I guess. Why professor? It's so random.
overall vibe of, quote, toxic positivity here. Bad ideas are not shot down, as that would be, like, not cool. As a result, the
course.
decisions here, also interesting. See, they'd gotten a ton of money in backing from Sony. They could do anything. You know those cinematic Overwatch shorts? Let's do those, but every single week of the year, at
Jesus.
expense to ourselves.
Jesus Christ.
Sounds good.
Every single week of the year, that's 52 cinematics. I think they don't even exist. There's like one cinematic. I've never seen the other ones. I've only seen the trailer cinematic, or like, I guess the cinematic that everyone knows. And other than that, I don't think anybody ever seen the other cinematics, which makes me kind of interested. I want to take a look at the other ones as well.
And they blow a ton of that money on extremely expensive, motion-captured CGI cinematics.
Of course they do, because they fucking look good.
Multiplayer shooter needed anything.
Don't get me wrong, the game might have failed, and it's garbage. I don't know. That's what people say. I never played it before, because I'm not gonna sunk in $40. No, but the cinematics were good. They were okay.
It's a storyline. Onto the characters. A few years ago, a movie had come out called Guardians of the Galaxy. A few people at Firewalk had seen it. Nice. Let's just do that. And the artists get to work.
Amazing.
And after a few years, they'd drawn up some decent concept art for characters. But midway through development, a change of heart. Now, we're making a hero shooter here, and the market is becoming increasingly saturated. We have to do something different, stick out from the crowd. Let's make the characters look absolutely horrific.
Nice.
Maybe that's not such a good idea. No, don't disagree. Haven't you read the sign? And so, the brilliant ideas keep rolling. Cool concept, but let's give her some Walmart power armor and make her absolutely enormous. That walking trash can needs a pronoun. make her 73 years old. This one should be humongous. He needs some American football pads and a Turtle Beach headset.
Oh god, he
Plus
looks
colour
ridiculous.
coordination across the board. And remember, we're designing aliens here. We could get creative. But for now, let's just take a man and paint him green.
I mean, let's give them credit. He has scales on top of his head. So technically he is a lizard.
Perfect. Now that the designs were top-notch, let's slap a $40 price tag on in a market where almost all of our better, more established competitors...
I mean, getting compared to Overwatch is not really a great thing considering the state of the game right now. I'm not talking about Overwatch when it first came out in the first year. It was like the god tier level game. But imagine you getting blown out of the water. Granted, they have a established player base. Also, granted, they're losing that player base and nobody really playing the game anymore. But imagine getting compared to Overwatch today and you're still losing. That's crazy.
Free to play. And we're done. In May 2023, it's the big PlayStation showcase, and they reveal the game.
The old reliable.
Time. And we see an empty spaceship with a jacket in a locker.
Nice.
Right. Cool. Was this a single-player campaign? A co-op looter-shooter? Multiplayer FPS? Who knows? But behind the scenes, Sony are still going all in. See, Blur Studios, the people behind Love, Death and Robots, are making a new anthology series.
God.
Each episode is based on a different game. And turns out, Sony is so confident in their new IP that they'd managed to get one of these episodes to be on Concord.
Jesus. That's the weird thing about it though. There are so many better games that Sony could have pitched to them, like Outer Worlds, for example, right? There's so many other games, like God of War, I mean, I guess they did. But like, why Concord though? That's the one thing that I don't understand. It's like, the game is not even out yet. The game didn't prove itself. It has no player base. The game is not out yet. Did I say that before? I think I did. I think I didn't say that before. So let me say it again. The game didn't even come out yet. Why were there sold into? I guess the amount of money that like was offered was too high. So Sony was like, "Nah, you have to put this in." I can guarantee you nobody watched that episode. I can guarantee you that nobody watched the episode with the Concord. Everybody remembers the episode with Warhammer 40k, and nobody remembers the Concord episode. Nobody. I can guarantee you that.
Concord controllers.
How nice.
Fast forward to May 2024, and at PlayStation's State of Play stream, we see more. This time, an actual gameplay reveal trailer. And the gameplay is actually revealed.
Here's the very first look at the gameplay of Concord.
Turns out, it's just a 5v5 hero shooter with Guardians of the Galaxy on top.
It's literally just Overwatch in space.
We finally see the characters that they'd put so much money and effort into. The reaction is not great.
Captain Hot Sauce and the Guardians of the...
However, the personality of characters amounts to this guy just like...
Jesus, how much hot sauce? You used the entire bottle, man. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like hot sauce as much as the next guy, but that's a bit too much. Relax.
Rich will want to get stuck in. They'd even spent a ton of money on bringing out new high-quality narrative cutscenes every week. But the thing
every week is crazy. Even Overwatch was not doing it at the height of it. I mean, Overwatch Year 1, some of the cinematics were one of the best cinematics ever. I used to watch them all the time on repeat. And even they were not putting out that many cinematics. Jesus Christ.
Because it's an online-only multiplayer game. And wait, does that say pre-order? $40?
Overwatch was special in its own way, where you had to buy the game because it was first of its kind, so to speak, in modern era, I guess. It wasn't first of its kind ever. It was first of its kind in modern era, right? I'm not talking about I'm not talking about Team Fortress 2. When you give that comparison, Team Fortress 2, according to like internet years, is a prehistoric skeleton at this point. Like, that's not what I'm talking about, right? But The thing is that like asking for money at this point in this day and age, in this current environment that we're in, is not the best idea, right?
In a market where virtually every competitor is free to play.
Yeah, pretty much everything is free at this
Worry,
point.
lads, this thing's worth it. There's also a pre-launch beta in July, and everyone's invited.
Nobody cares. I don't think anybody cared.
But first,
I really think nobody
internet
cared, man.
is scary, filled with holes. Navigation can be treacherous. Here, take this. See, your internet service provider can see everything you do.
Nice.
Depending on where you live, they can also sell all of that data to advertisers. And you didn't just join a public
Ooh, that's
Wi-Fi,
bad.
did you? See over there? That friendly-looking old lady now has your search history, birth certificate, social security number, and several DNA samples. Not only that, links containing malware exist all over the internet. You just clicked one? Fantastic. Now your laptop can make a lovely chopping board. But with NordVPN, security. See, NordVPN encrypts your internet connection at the source, meaning your data runs through a secure tunnel, shielding you from hackers. And NordVPN is the fastest VPN out there.
I'm sure it
Just
is.
pick a country, and you're there. Nord also offers advanced threat protection, meaning you're safe from malware, phishing, scams, and other online threats. Also, 24/7 customer support, one account for up to 10 devices, and a 30-day money-back guarantee. And NordVPN has a fat discount and 4 months extra for free via this link. Just go to nordvpn.com/bigboss or use this easy-to-remember code. It's finally June and doors open. They've even paid a bunch of streamers and YouTubers to be there.
Right.
But there's a problem. No one's turning.
Nobody cares. Nobody cared about this thing. I'm telling you, nobody talked about it. Nobody cared about it. No one cares.
Now able to download the beta and play the game at no expense at all. But at this point, on PC, that's 2,388 people. For reference, Overwatch 2 had 1.5 million, Valorant around 3 million.
Jesus, man.
These were both closed betas. The comments are over the moon. Despite all of that,
I cannot talk about
and
any of those comments. They're just like, no.
they're actually pretty good. But at Sony, issues.
Of course, they're good. Like, I mean, when hasn't the video game journalists like IGN or anything of sorts ever came out and ever gave a bad score to a game that they have an early copy for? You usually know how these work. If you don't know, you probably go and take a look at, I'll probably put it here somewhere. Take a look at Rantone's video about game journalism and what happens there, right? Obviously, they're going to go give like average or better than average score, right? It's their job.
They'd said they were releasing more than 10 live service games before 2026. But by 2024, that number had dropped to 6. Concord was one of those 6. It needed to do well. The Last of Us 2 Online cancelled. Horizon's multiplayer projects, MIA. Deviation Games completely canned before they could even get a game out the door. Bungie, which Sony had blown almost $4 billion on, is also doing...
Jesus, man. I still cannot, as a Destiny player, it's very personal to me, I still cannot believe that they received $4 billion and they somehow still managed to flop everything. And Destiny is still in downfall trend. They're still laying off employees. This is insane. It's $4 billion. I mean, another car for Pete Parsons. Yes, please.
Hitting almost 50% of their financial projections and actually losing money. With no more Destiny sequels or updates lined up.
Yeah, Destiny 3 is not coming, by the way. Just letting everyone know, Destiny 3 is not coming. They're gonna move on to Marathon, and they're gonna give the rights of Destiny to Sony to do whatever they want with it, right? Marathon is their game now. Marathon is their baby now. They did this before with Halo and Destiny. Now they're gonna do it with Destiny and Marathon. They're gonna fully focus on Marathon, and that Marathon is gonna fail. Nobody will be playing Marathon because nobody on planet Earth plays the extraction shooters, with the possible exception of like 10,000 people on planet Earth. The rest of 8 billion population, we do not play extraction shooters. Nobody cares.
Concord's beta numbers, yeah, not good. They'd also apparently chugged through another $200 million.
Yummy.
So that's around $400 million in development costs here. Right, what are we doing here, boys? Change the business model? Make the game free to play like every other hero shooter? No. The genre may be completely past its prime, massively oversaturated, and overwhelmingly free to play. But just look at these characters. A masterclass of design. Bursting with personality.
Nice.
Fellas, there's no way people are passing this up. The $40 stays.
Of course it does.
And they gear up for the global launch in
It's
August.
too late to back down now.
Just 2 months away. It's now August 23rd, and after 8 years and a reported $400 million, the game is out the door.
Oh, very positive. Look at that. 105 people liked it.
The animations are decent.
The only people to ever play the game.
Good. Basically Destiny 2 if it was a hero shooter. There's an okay amount of content in here too. 16 characters, 12 maps, and 6 modes.
Nice.
New maps, modes, and characters would also be released down the line, alongside the extremely expensive weekly cutscenes that everyone just couldn't wait for.
Nobody cared.
We'll boot up the menu.
Everybody only saw the first one. The rest, they didn't care. Nobody saw the rest.
Mushroom Man.
Oh my, so
Vision
cringe.
Man. A walking, talking, he-him trash can, Walmart laser tag boy, and a very old woman. In fact, the only character not universally hated is the walking trash can.
Nice.
Besides the characters, the game offers pretty much nothing new to the genre. The maps are bland, and subpar graphics and effects. This is compared to a 15-year-old PS3 game. The game started development just after Overwatch, and as a result, Concord just kind of feels like half a decade old. Also,
Yeah,
like playing as a
that tends to happen.
Well, unlucky, because in certain game modes, if you win a round as them, you can't play them again for the whole game.
Nice.
There's also a whole storyline and lore that they'd invested a massive amount of.
Was that a bug or is that a feature? Because if it's a feature, it's a big mistake. Get rid of that. Like, that's like game design 101. You do that in any of the universities where you get to take a game design course, you'll get like you cannot pass your course. You'll get like F. You'll get like a D minus. Get rid of that.
Money into.
Don't ever do that.
Lore dump star map with loads of planets.
Nobody's reading any of this, by the way. This is not Skyrim. Nobody's reading any of this.
No one cares because the characters suck and it's a multiplayer game with no campaign.
Nobody reads any of those. This is not Skyrim. If this was a single player game, I could understand. Nobody cares about any of these.
It's like the 5th best 5v5 shooter on the market, and it's $40 more than everything else.
Jesus,
You
man,
need a
40.
PSN subscription to
And that's another crazy thing, is that if you're playing this on PlayStation, you have to buy a PSN subscription. Why would anyone in their right mind ever do such a thing? You have to be insane. You're essentially paying more money to an unfinished, unliked, unplayable game. Well, it's not technically unplayable. The reason why I said unplayable is because nobody plays it. There's no one to play with. Alright? Because nobody plays it. You're essentially paying that more money compared, like, when you can just buy a AAA game with that money.
And it's not even free on PS Plus.
Jesus Christ, $60, man. That's crazy.
There's a major problem here. There's only 690.
Nobody's playing. See, nobody is playing. Like, I mean,
people playing
$400 million, by the way.
game. Almost 3,000 played the beta, meaning more than half of them had just ditched. The 7-year-old
Nobody cares.
Friday the 13th is also getting 10 times.
Friday the 13th. The thing with the Friday the 13th is that they have a cult-like following at this point. I met them. I met a couple of Friday the 13th players. They are the most obsessed people on planet Earth. They will never stop playing that game. It is insane. These people are like, it's essentially a cult at that point.
Game without dedicated servers. Concord is an online-only, competitive multiplayer FPS. That means it relies heavily on a big, healthy player base.
True.
Turns out, Sony had decided to stick a PSN account requirement on, blocking the game in a...
See, it's the same thing that they did with Helldivers 2. It is the worst thing that you can ever do from a monetary perspective, which is interesting because, like, I cannot understand why would they ever do such a thing, and maybe you can enlighten me on that one. Because as a company, if I was Sony, and as a company, if my job is to make as much money as possible, why would I limit the amount of countries, therefore limit the amount of people that can play my game by adding this arbitrary requirement for a PSN account? That makes no sense.
180 countries. Nice one. Most other big budget AAA games also go on.
I'm glad that I never played Helldivers 2, because if I got into it and then I saw that the game fails this much, I will probably would be so depressed that I will probably not be able to ever trust to buy another game ever again. I will be probably so demoralized. So I'm just so glad that I never got to taste the poison of Helldivers 2. Because if I did, I probably would be addicted and still playing it to this day. But I would be so bummed about it that the game was failing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Blitz before release. But Concord, not so much. Revealing the game just a couple of months before launch, a few paid streams here, some character videos there, and they called it a day. And by launch, somehow, no one had even heard of the game.
Nobody cares.
Saw that it cost $40 and presumably went to play literally any.
Yeah, no, there's no way.
For a 100% discount.
No way.
The game got zero attention pre-launch. After launch, it's everywhere. The memes are plentiful. The characters are so hated.
Why am I not surprised that there's an Asmongold clip here?
They give her Thugnificent's haircut.
People online.
But that's the thing, though. That is the thing, though. She looks exactly like Thugnificent. They are the same person. They are exactly the same person. She looks like Thugnificent. Why?
They give her Thugnificent's haircut.
People online start making their own.
If you never watched Boondocks before, go watch it. You're missing out on so many things. Oh yeah, I saw these two people doing like redrawings of the characters to make better ones.
Conditions. This designer even spends an hour breaking down how bad they are before.
Yeah, this guy really blew up. Apparently, he's a designer of some, like, head of some studio. He really blew up because, do you know why he blew up? It's because I actually watched I watched a couple of his videos. It's because he actually speaks common sense, so people like him.
It felt impossible to try to salvage these designs.
Also, the reviews are in. 20% recommended on OpenCritic, 1.7 out of 10 user reviews on
Ooh, people did not like it. But of course, IGN probably gave it a 7.
ChatGPT.
Don't quote me on that one because I actually didn't check. I might be wrong.
After a few days, it was clear. The game was underperforming.
You don't say. That's an understatement.
The game sold a grand total of around 25,000 copies. That's about $1 million.
Not good.
A whopping 0.25% return.
Yikes.
Nice. The devs go ahead and take down the LGBT and political user tags from the Steam page, but this does little to aid the situation.
Right. Those are things in Steam. I never knew about that. Apparently those are like tags, actual tags that you can put on your games. On Steam, which I had no idea.
Abysmally. But Firehawk isn't done just yet. Turns out, people were complaining about the game online, so they boot up Twitter and start typing. The game was a labor of love. Criticize it, and you're a weird, talentless freak.
Biggest mistake on planet Earth. Never attack the people that are willing to consume or even try or even test your product. The moment that you do that, you're not only using your current consumer base, whatever you have, right, whatever that's with, but you're also losing every single future consumer base that you might have. Never do that. Can you imagine if Coca-Cola came out and called all of their consumers stupid for consuming Coca-Cola? Why would you ever do such a thing? And even worse yet, why would the higher-ups in the studio would ever this kind of behavior to be conducted by their developers in the first place? You instantly lose. It's one ticket to hell, essentially. Like corporate bankruptcy hell. Never, you have to keep this in mind. No matter what job you do, you never ever insult the people that are consuming your product. Don't ever do that. That is the dumbest thing you can ever do. No matter what you do, right? It's not just games. It's everything.
But this doesn't go down well either. With the horrific player count alongside the barrage of memes online, it was obvious the game had to go free to play. There was no other option.
It never did.
But then, on the 3rd of September, Firewalk comes out with a statement.
Of course they do.
It's been fantastic. But despite the support and the passionate community that has grown,
again, you're losing everyone with the corporate speech. We all know that there was no passion around this game, that there was no sport around this game. Nobody played this game. Stop lying.
around the game, we're pulling the plug. The game is going offline in 3 days' time, while we explore options to bring it back.
I'm sure you do.
Also offer refunds.
That's explore options to bring it back. Is corporate speech for this game is getting canned and is getting axed, and this is never coming back.
Single person that bought the game, regardless of playtime. It's not just digital.
Yeah, it happens stuff like this when No Man's Sky flipped so hard that Steam was like, okay, we're just gonna refund everybody's money no matter how much you played, because it was just so bad when it came out. It's not like that now, but when it first came out, right? So on like certain occasions where game flops just so bad that Steam and Sony and companies like these, like, okay, we're just gonna refund everybody's money because it's not worth the lawsuit that's like heading our way, right? We don't want to deal with that.
Sony is actually refunding every physical copy too, and now retailers aren't even letting people buy the game.
They wouldn't let me check out, even though they had this on the shelves and on the floor.
It's probably gonna be around for a year. No, it's not.
That was not the plan.
Technically, it was a plan. It just wasn't the same plan that we started with.
In
Right, of course.
mid-September, Concord's game director steps down, while some of the 150-odd developers at Firewalk try pitching Sony on other ideas. Some think they'll be used as a support studio, others fear a wave of layoffs, maybe even the whole studio being canned. Also, Concord's Amazon episode is staying in,
Jesus,
and it's due to
man.
air this December.
Yeah, that became the, like, mouthpiece of everyone. Concord is just there. Episode. I never watched it. I don't care. I only watched the Warhammer episode and I didn't care about the rest.
But regardless, on the 6th of September, we bid farewell. 12 days after launch, and the servers...
Damn, 12 days.
8 years, an alleged $400 million. Gone in the blink of an eye.
That's crazy.
Shut down.
Yeah, of course it did. How am I not surprised?